Let's review. Our lesson from Friday has to do with quadratic formula. The quadratic formula can only be used if something is written in standard form. Standard form is as follows. ax squared plus bx plus c. Our discriminant that we talked about on Friday helps us determine how many solutions we should have. Okay? When working with the discriminant, we will determine how many times our graph crosses the x-axis. Will it be once with one solution? Will it be twice with two real solutions? Or if it never crosses, we would have no real solutions. Today, our goal with our objectives is to make sure that you can complete the quadratic formula. We only did a portion of it on Friday. We want to make sure that we can put things into standard form and determine A, B, and C values within our formula. The quadratic formula is as follows. The opposite of B plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Our goal is to accurately be able to calculate this for solutions to see if they exist. We will have either 1, 2, or no solutions. We'll start with a practice problem. Our practice problem gives us A, B, and C. We need to properly place it into the quadratic formula. Notice that we start with the opposite of B. I now have everything in its proper place. Notice I did b squared in my head, or if you need, please make sure that you do it accurately in your calculator. This is going to be one area that you are expected to show your work. You must properly put all values into their correct locations. Our next job is to get our answers out of our calculator. There will be two options that your calculators may be in, so have patience. We have two slides showing the two different options. Option 1. If when putting your values into your calculator, you are going to notice that we must use parentheses to ensure that we are doing the numerator of our equation first. I do a parentheses -5 plus the square root. If when I press my square root button on my calculator, I get square root parentheses, this option is for you. I continue with putting 25 minus 4 times 4 times 1, and I must close both parentheses. Then I will divide by, in parentheses, 2 times 4. Upon hitting enter, I should get -0.25. If I get an error message, I've incorrectly put in my values, or if it says syntax, please press go to and see where your mistake is. If you receive the proper answer, -0.25, that is your first x value. Hit second enter, bring up the line again, and quickly change out your addition sign for a subtraction. Upon hitting enter, you should get -1. This is option 1. If need be, please pause the video and return to review any slides if you have questions. Option 2. Option 2, you are going to notice is very similar. There is less parentheses as the calculator shows that the square root bar will continue over the discriminant. Notice that the square root bar continues all the way from 25 minus 4 times 4 all the way to times 1. Again, no matter the mode of your calculator, you should end up with solutions of -0.25 when you use the addition sign. And then when you put subtraction in, you should end up with a -1. Let's try another one. In this particular case, you must identify A, B, and C. Those will be considered points on your assignments. Additional points will be given for placing these values properly within the quadratic formula. So let's get started. Pause the video if need be. Notice I quickly identified my A, my B, and my C value. When I locate my B value, it is negative. I must be careful that now when I start my equation, I start with the opposite of B. Again, notice that I did negative 10 squared or negative 10 times negative 10 in my head or on the side so that I get 100 underneath my square root sign. Both options are going to be shown for your calculator. Option 1, you'll notice the first solution is at the top. Our second solution is at the bottom. You are going to be asked to round your answers to the 100th today on your homework, so please round out two decimal places. You're going to notice that the first one will cause some additional rounding so that our solution is 4.90. Our rounding in our second will just be 0.10. Again, this is option 1. Option 2 on your calculator will look similar. Again, be sure to round to the 100th, making sure that we are being aware of that any number above 5 rounds up. That is it for our lesson today. Our outcomes are that we should accurately be able to determine A, B, and C from an equation, whether it is or is not in standard form. We should also be able to accurately compute using your calculator solutions for a quadratic. If you have additional questions, please stay tuned. I'm going to show the first problem of our maze. Please continue to work on your maze for the next 20 minutes. And before you leave today, be sure to pick up your homework.